Let's get perspectives on the reports you just saw. We'll start with Abuja this time. Makwe.
Thank you, Chamberlain. We have with us in the studio Mr. Marvel Akboibo, who is a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. Some
very interesting figures being reeled out yesterday by the NHRC, and also, well, the president did not quite reel out any figures, but just to put this in your mind somewhere, just have it at the back of your mind. 37 officers recommended for dismissal, 24 for prosecution. The NHRC asks the police to fish out another 22 so they can face disciplinary measures, and asks the federal government to pay compensation to 45 complainants. You are a retired police officer. You heard well, the president also said something very significant yesterday, saying that because the recommendations of the NHRC can be acted upon in a court of law, they're like judicial decisions. Is that I'm not quite clear on that, but that he's going to take all the recommendations and he's going to act on them. Part of the recommendations which has taken over the headlines is the one on state and local government policing, and he said that the Solicitor General of the country and the Inspector General should work out modalities to, work that out within 3 months. As someone who has been in the police force, how did this report make you feel?
Well, I was very excited when I heard the report because it clearly showed that the president is very determined now to address the issue of insecurity in this country. And of course, we all know what the Constitution says, that the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be, remember, the operational word is shall be the primary purpose of government. So if the government is unable to provide adequate security for its citizens, then there has no business being there. So I think I was very excited because all these decisions were reached on account of the present spate of insecurity in the country. And I think it was a welcome idea.
You said the president is now.
Yes, because hitherto we have not really come out to say whether we needed state police or not. So this time around he has come out to say, you can see the urgency in his tone, that he wanted the white people within 3 months for implementation. And that was very encouraging.
Well, there are other things that the NHRC report brings out. It also talks about the kitten of the police. It talks about changing the name of SARS to the anti-robbery section to operate under the intelligence arm of the police. For you, does this really make any difference, changing the name and bringing them under the intelligence arm?
It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. The important thing is that they should be able to carry out their responsibilities very effectively, whether they are called SARS or not, provided they operate within the ambit of the law, and then achieve the mandate for which that section was created. That's the important thing.
The question will be, how come SARS got so unruly? How did it become, it seemed like it had become a law unto itself and had almost totally left the control of the police, so to speak?
Well, it's not even right that the entire SARS became a law unto itself. Not everybody in the SARS, was exhibiting such tendencies. No, it's an organization, it's an establishment. So there might be one or two bad elements there who have been fished out.
Establishment separate to the police?
No, it's not. They're under the control of the police. But it's a department of its own. So they're under the control of the police. So if one or two of them or three of them misbehaved or misconducted themselves, that would not be enough for anybody to commit the fallacy of overgeneralization.
Mr. Akboibo,
yes.
37 for dismissal is not one or two of them. 24 for prosecution, another 22. We're looking at close to 100 policemen here. That's not one or two.
Yeah, I have not looked at.
And these are from people who complain. There are many other Nigerians who perhaps don't have the opportunity to complain, but have suffered greatly under this under this special anti-robbery squad.
Yes. If you know, before you can draw that conclusion, you should know the number of personnel we have in that department. If we have more than 1,000, 2,000, and you are talking about 24 hearing officers, that is not enough to commit the fallacy of overgeneralization. I'm not justifying the fact that it was not bad enough, but it will not be right to overgeneralize that everybody in this house was a bad egg.
Well, I'm looking at 93 people here, at the very least, 93 officers. I'm sure, with due respect to those who have tried their best to be good, when you look at how SARS used to operate, when you look at, you know, the fact that when you talk to commissioners of police, they say, oh, SARS is not under our command. Would you say that in terms of how it was even structured, it was structured to be efficient in such a way that it was accountable to even the Nigeria police, not to now talk of Nigerians?
Of course. Of course, the SARS in the state command were expected to render account to the police commissioner, and if there was any wrongdoing, of course, adequate disciplinary action will be taken. But I have not looked at the report. These offenses committed by these personnel, I am sure they were committed across time, not on the day. You know, that within a week, these offenses were committed. Maybe it's across time. I have not looked at the report, so I will not be able to give a fair assessment of what actually brought about these conclusions. How be it, it was bad enough that as many as 94 officers were I'll use that word loosely, were indicted for wrongdoing. Why were performing the duty. And then, of course, the punishment that be recommended, they had to be tried and all that, dismissed and all that. I mean, that will say the very clear signal to other officers that they must operate within the ambit of the law. You cannot take the law into your hand. You were employed primarily to protect lives and property of Nigerians, not to harass or become part of the adversary, you know, of the citizens.
I want to take a look at this. The state police,
Yes.
state and local government police. Some people say it's a long journey ahead, assuming, I think the Inspector General of Police, the Solicitor General has been asked to come up with modalities for implementing the report. And there are many things inside the report, even though we haven't seen all of it.
Yes.
But the highlight of the report talks about tooling, rekitting of the police. It also talks about implementing the state and local government policing system. If you were to advise, say, the Inspector General of Police in terms of what a state policing system should look like, state and local government policing system would look like, what would you be putting in your recommendations?
Well, if you are trying to establish state police and local government police, there must be state police that are effectively equipped, properly trained. There must be local government police that have been trained properly. Otherwise, we are back to status quo ante. If you are establishing this outfit, they must be trained so be able to carry out their mandate. Otherwise, we're back to square one. So you said it's the long journey ahead. I agree. But it is good that we take a step to start that long journey. And that's what we've done. And the president made it very clear that within 3 months, and I repeat, within 3 months, they should come up with a white paper for implementation.
Well, I don't know if this is a dampener, but let me quickly read this. Some of the key recommendations of the panel include establishment of a state and local government police, but that we've already established. Significant improvement in the funding, kitting, and facilities of the Nigeria Police Force. Strengthening the Police Rapid Response Complaint Unit of the Nigeria Police Force. And ensuring the anti-robbery section limits itself to tackling armed robbery. If these are the highlights of the report, how do you think it instills confidence in Nigerians that their police is now going to be working for them?
Certainly, these recommendations are very, very important recommendations. They are recommendations that will make the police more responsive to the people, more proactive, instead of being reactive, bringing the police closer to the grassroots, and then enhance collective participation in the art of policing. I think it is very elegant, and
But don't you think the Nigerians are a little Maybe we're jumping the gun. I'm just reading the statement now from the president's media aide, Garba Shehu. He sent out this statement. President Buhari has not approved state, local government police. Now, they're saying that the president only requested that the report be studied and a white paper produced within 3 months. President Buhari's specific directive is that a 3-man panel be set up to produce the white paper. The report of the White Paper Committee will form the basis of the decisions of the government on the many recommendations, including the setting up of state and local government police made by the Ojukwu panel. Does this put a dampener on it for you?
Not at all. It would have been wrong to say the president just by fiat decreed that let there be state police and local government police. There must be some processes to be followed. And the white paper, the essence of the white paper, of course, you know what a white paper means, to work out the details of what should be done. My prayer is that the white paper will not queue up behind those white papers in the past that found themselves in the archives. I don't think that will be the case. But essentially, there must be a framework. There must be a kind of a write-up that we bring about the establishment of these units. Look at the Constitution, for example. The Constitution has to be amended because it's very, very clear that there shall be only one Nigerian police force, and there shall be no other police to be, established either for the federation or for any part thereof. It is very, very clear. So these sections must be amended. We also have the exclusive list in the Constitution, the second schedule. You must amend those some of those items in the exclusive list, bring them to the concurrent list, where the state and the federal government can have concurrent jurisdiction to legislate on some of them. So these are these ones will form the basis of the white paper, that will be put up. So,
it's very interesting that you're from a police officer and you're quite excited about the establishment of state policing.
Yes.
A lot of policemen whom we have spoken to will just tell you point blank, it won't work. Why are you excited about this? You
see, to say that it won't work in its absolute term, it's a defensive approach. We see if a particular methodology that is not giving us the right output, there must be a shift in paradigm. We'll be talking about community policing. We'll be talking about true federal character, true federalism in Nigeria. And you can't talk about effective community policing without state police or local government police. So all these will come together to enhance effective policing of our lives and property. I think it's a welcome idea. To reason otherwise, in the face of the spread of kidnappings and violent crimes, terrorist attacks that everybody is reading on the papers. Will be ridiculous to reason otherwise.
Would you say that it was really an impossibility in the very first instance to ask that a federal police polices the entire country effectively?
Well, I wouldn't say it's an impossibility, but it's a continuum from point 0 to point X. If you are trying to rate a student, for example, you start from 1% to 100%. What we're saying here is not that the federal police, as it is now, cannot really carry out its duties. We are talking about carrying out the duties to the grassroots, to more effectively. That is the point we're making. We're not saying that the federal police is not functioning well or is inappropriate. No. But we are saying that bringing policing to the grassroots will enhance the actualization of the mandate of the Nigerian police force to ensure the state of lives and property of Nigerians. Yes.
So it's not like as if they couldn't have. Because right now, one of the things that is happening is that our security system seems to be failing. There are a number of security issues that have been brought to the fore. You talked about kidnappings and things of the sort when you started this program. And if you ask the average Nigerian, if you conduct a poll today, even though that poll is yet to be conducted, a lot of people might tell you that they do not feel safe. because of all that has been happening in recent times.
Yes.
Would you say that the structure we had in the very first instance really was, was putting a square peg in a round hole? Would never have worked?
There are so many factors that will really bring about effective performance in policing. Not just the mesh structure. You talk about equipping the police, training the police. Crime has become more sophisticated than ever before. And in the face of this sophisticated level of violence, and you keep the policemen ill-equipped, ill-trained, you can't get anything reasonable out of them. So it goes beyond mere structure. Like I said, we're talking about state police and local government police now. Oh, welcome idea. But if the intention is to establish a lame state police, untrained, ill-equipped, untrained and ill-equipped local government police, then they don't venture into it. It's meaningless. For it to be meaningful, it must be a state police that is well-trained, well-equipped. It must be a local government police that is well-trained and well-equipped to meet with the current challenges of our 21st century.
One of the things that people have been afraid of are the excesses of what they perceive could be the excesses of governors in terms of how they manipulate the state police. They believe that they will become even more powerful and use the police to hunt their opponents. How would you suggest that this kind of excesses, if it will exist, be checked?
You see, we must work out a legal framework, to put checks and balances. State police is operating effectively in other crimes, like in the United States. The police, if you are a member of Congress and you have violated the law, you could be arrested by the police and prosecuted. The fact that you are a Congress member does not mean that you have above the law. So we must put those templates in place, a legal framework, to make the police more functional, more independent, so that they can carry out their duties without any fear of molestation by any governor. I agree with you. Without a legal framework, a governor could use the state police to intimidate his political opponent, to harass his perceived adversary. But if we put effective legal framework in place and good check and balance, you cannot just hire and fire the state commissioner of police. There are procedures to be followed. The commissioner of police can look at the governor and say, oh, Your Excellency, this is wrong. This is not in accordance with the law. And if any commissioner, civil commissioner, anybody, whosoever has committed an offense, is arraigned in court, and that will not attract dismissal or reprisal from the government because the policeman is doing the job. In UK, for example, a constable can see the Prime Minister committing an offense, and of course he'll be arrested and prosecuted, and he won't lose his job. So these are the legal framework we must put in place to ensure that the state police is not bastardized by overzealous governor who want to use it to perpetuate his own ambition.
I find it interesting that you say that the commissioners of police, when the state police system is established, should not be hired and fired at will by governors.
Yes.
But isn't that the case at the federal level? Doesn't the president hire and fire the IG as he pleases?
Well, we have even argued in the past that the process of hiring the IG and changing him and the whims and caprices of the president is wrong. There must be, if, for example, the president, the IG knows that if he's doing the right thing and the president does not like what he's doing, and what he's doing is within the ambit of the law, he cannot do anything without recourse to the National Assembly. He cannot. You can't just wake up overnight and say, look, I'm changing the IG, I'm appointing somebody else and all that trash.
So we know that before this assembly, they're wrapping up shortly, but in the last days, in the last couple of days, they have passed the Police Reform Act. And one of the recommendations is that the Inspector General would have a security of tenure, I think, for 5 years or thereabout. Does that significantly change how you think the police is going to perform at the end of the day?
Certainly. If the IG knows that he has a starting number of years to serve, and you cannot truncate it just because you don't want him to perform or abide by the law. You are wasting your time. The IG who knows the onions will continue doing his work, and he must finish his tenure. You can't just move him out anyhow, fire him and bring somebody who will be loyal to you. That is nonsensical. That's not in the spirit of true democracy. And I think we should live above that now. Yeah.
What else would you recommend from what you have seen on the inside and what you now observe as somebody who's looking from the outside inside? What else do you recommend that be done to make our Nigerian police more effective? Yes,
of course, everybody knows what should be done for an organization to be, such as the police, to be more effective. Number one, the crime in our society, they become much more complicated, more sophisticated. And therefore, you must make the police much more sophisticated than they are now, by way of training them, making them to acquire new skills, making them more proactive, and then changing the entire security architecture, to enable them grapple with the 21st form of complex crime that we are witnessing today. So these are the measures you must put in place.
You say everybody needs to know, everybody knows what needs to be done.
Of course, everybody knows.
Can you restate some of those things? Just to remind us, perhaps.
Yes. Number one, equip the policemen. Equip them. Train them. Give them good accommodation. And when they are involved in any accident or they have been shot in the course of their duty, there should be adequate compensation. There should be effective insurance scheme in place so that when the man is there on the field, he knows that when anything happens to him, his family will not suffer. So these are the things we must put in place to make our policemen more functional, more effective and effectual in the performance of their duty.
Why is it so difficult to implement? And why haven't we heard IGs recommend, would I say, fight this cause over and over again?
Well, you want the IG to fight this cause. An IG whose tenure is not statutorily determined. An IG who could be removed or who could be appointed in the morning and by the following day he's asked to go. You ask him to fight which cause? It is the duty of the civil society, you and I, of course I'm no longer there, to come out and say, look, this is what we should do. The IG who is there and is at the beck and call of Mr. President. President can remove any time. You want to come out and now speak against the government and say this must be done, otherwise he will go. Until we have put the legal framework in place to guarantee his tenure, we are wasting our time. Wasting our time.
Well, it's a fine place to leave it, Mr. Marvel Akwoibo. He's a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police. We hope to have you here in the next 3 months. Hopefully, perhaps when that white paper comes out, we'll look at what the recommendations of that committee is. But thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Again, I've been speaking with Mr. Marvel Akwoibo, who's a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police. Sunrise Daily continues in a moment. Please stay with us.